Morning, everybody. 7:45 on a sunny start to the day. Cold, though, -5, 3 later. Loren McKeon is here. She's a writer with Toronto Life and did this story. I'll read it off your cover. Modern-day concubines and their sugar daddies.
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know. So this is a phenomenon that you guys say is on the rise in Toronto. The idea is that mostly women looking, well, the term daddy, but women looking for men who will financially support them in some way.
Yeah, we were surprised that there are so many people in Toronto that have signed up to these sugar daddy dating sites. There's tens of thousands of people in the GTA. Yeah, and they want sugar daddies, and men want, they're called sugar babies.
How do you define it exactly? Like, are they paying your rent? They're not giving you cash.
They are giving you cash. So it really depends on what you ask for. So they call it an allowance. So you can ask for like $500 a month if you want. Some people ask for $500 every time they see you.
For which you have to supply
sex and companionship. Not every sugar baby does have sex with their sugar daddy, but most of them do. And there's also trips. It's kind of the idea that you pamper your sugar baby. So you could take them on trips, or you pay for their rent if that's what they want, if that's what they need from you, or you pay for their tuition, or, you know, it's kind of this negotiation. And you
How did you find this out?
So there are two main sugar daddy, well, there are a lot of sugar daddy dating websites. It's kind of like this trend that's on the rise.
Got my pen out.
Right?
Sugar daddies, daddies, Loren.
And it just, and they're, you know, the idea of a sugar daddy has kind of been around for a while. It's kind of this idea in popular culture, but these dating sites have risen up in the past 5 or so years to just help facilitate, ease people on the way to their sugar lifestyle. So
you sat down, obviously, and interviewed some of the women.
Yes.
And what were those conversations like?
They were interesting, right? It's kind of, you might go in there with a stereotype, or like you think a judgment, like you think they're going to be a certain type of women. But I was surprised. You know, a lot of these women, they just want a lifestyle. They're mostly in their 20s. And they have this idea that they want this lifestyle that they don't have the income to support yet. And they think that the way that they can get it is
How do they differentiate to themselves the difference between that and being a prostitute?
It's kind of, I think that's why it's all sugary. That's why they call it sugar dating. Right. So it's very the sugary, sweet veneer over everything. So it's almost, the men don't want to say they're with a prostitute, and the women don't want to be a prostitute. So it's kind of just like,
well, they do. They just want to call it something else.
They want to call it something else, right? So it's almost, so they would never
I'm not
say,
judging. Do what you want with your own time and body, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the similarities are there. They would say it's more of an ongoing arrangement.
So let me ask you, I want to put you on the spot. Obviously, a lot of people think that everyone is entitled to do whatever they want. That is their money, that is their body, whatever they want to do, I suppose. But let me ask you, what do you think this says about the women and says about the men who are involved in this?
It's kind of, you know, the men really want to be this like white knight in shining armor type of thing, and they want like they're mostly in their 40s, they want someone that's young and beautiful, but it kind of gives you the sense that it's a business transaction, and that makes me feel a little bit weird about it. You know, everyone's very open. Yeah, everyone's very open and honest about going into it. Like, no one's pulling the wool over your eyes, so they go in and say, I want this from you, and the men will say, okay, I'll give it to you if you give me this, this, and this. But it makes me sad that that's what women, you know,
That's what I was going to say. I mean, we're all being polite about this, and we want to reserve judgment, but was there not a part of you that wanted to say, you're in your 20s, you could be doing something with your life, and you are instead trading in sexual favors for material things?
Yeah, there's a part of me that's, you know, I'm in my 20s as well, late 20s, and
oh, you old thing.
Yeah, very old. But there's a part of me that was just like, you know, one of the girls told me, you know, if I were dating someone my own age, I'd be watching Netflix every night and eating pasta. And I said, what's wrong with that? That's what you do when you're in your 20s.
And I don't want to just focus on the women. And how about the men? Do they
Right.
not feel that they're somehow taking advantage of the situation? And do they feel dirty in any
Well,
way?
she said that the men feel like they're white knights.
Yeah,
and
they
they're
like
helping
the
and
idea.
saving
Right.
the women and taking care of them, right?
You know, a large percentage of the men on the sites are married. So that's another factor. So that brings that in. It's about 40%.
Does this happen in the reverse? Are there women out there,
There are.
who are
They're called
wealthy
sugar
women?
mamas.
There are.
But very
Few.
like very, very few in comparison. So
I think, Chris, you hit on it by saying we're a little polite about this, but I'm extremely troubled by this whole concept.
Yes.
I know this has been around for a while, but just the fact that women are getting involved in this, that men are doing that, it just seems...
I think it just hasn't been, you know, put on a site before. It's now just
That's
more.
what makes
It's
you
always
know?
been happening.
It's always been happening, but it was just a little harder to find. You had to go like hang around a fancy bar hotel. Now you can just go online.
that's right. I spoke to a woman that has been a sugar baby for years, for decades, and she said she wrote a book about it and on how to find your sugar daddy. And she said used to go and stake out parking lots and look for like Mercedes Benz,
Right.
and like
This
then
is a
you know that guy could be your
calculated
sugar
approach.
daddy. But now it's very calculated.
But
you
now
go
that
on
it's
and-
out in the open, it's almost as if we're removing the stigma out of it. And is that the right thing to do? Because when you're sneaking around in a parking lot, it's been happening for a long time.
Ultimately,
but
it's personal
you're sneaking
choice. We have
around.
no business telling people what they do with their time or body. So, do it. But I mean.
But we all have reactions, right? Personal reactions.
Oh, for sure,
to it.
because we would. It's very unlikely we
No,
would
I know. I
choose
mean,
to do it. But if you do, that's your business.
Yeah.
Right, and like for the story, I signed up to one of the sites and created a profile. I wanted to see what would happen. And I didn't put much information on it, and men just like flocked. Like it's just like this, like it's such a rising trend. I didn't have
Super
much
creepy?
information. It was weird.
Wow.
They're charming, but in a very old
Lascivious.
man that could be my father kind
Right.
of way. So
Well, if you want to read more about it, it's the April issue of Toronto Life magazine, Modern Day Concubines and Their Sugar Daddies. Loren McKeon, thank you so much.
thanks so much.
It's 7:51. We'll be right back.